everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, and our co-sponsor CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. I am Evan Irwin, and we get started this week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell.
Good evening, everybody.
Ruben Bressler.
Hi.
It's okay. It's okay. We're going to get through this together. Everything is canceled.
Did you start the raffle?
We have started. The raffle should have been up and running. Let me double check. I probably messed that up somehow.
I see a lot of exclamation mark raffles in chat with no raffles.
I set the raffle
registered.
up. I swear.
We're a professional podcast.
This is a professional podcast. Well, see, now you guys got to fill time while I fix this.
Fortunately, all of my mistakes never make it to air.
Exactly.
Which is ideal for me because boy, I'm nothing if not a pile of mistakes. Huh?
Well, I guess I did not hit this the button correctly. Some people and their professionalism. This is still going to end at midnight, so we're around 58 minutes.
Wow. Is it going?
And it is officially up and running. For those who are interested in
there it is.
Yeah, there we go. Let's go. We started our Trumpet Blast. We don't have one, but you can get one if you support us at our highest level on Patreon. We'll kick it off with our first pick in our giveaway. $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com. Type exclamation mark raffle in the chat. Subscribe and get 2 chances to win. Dub chances. And we thank all subscribers, whether they're new or existing, at the end of the show, as well as our bit givers, because you guys are great. Which means we turn here to our first pick. Things went from 0 to like 100 miles an hour today.
We're playing Pandemic the home game, y'all.
It is incredible. Things started to get canceled over the weekend / most of this week. Things started to kind of shut down. Entire countries are starting to shut down. I guess the biggest ones we can talk about here are the Grand Prix, the MagicFests. MagicFest Detroit, Sao Paulo, Louisville, and Palm Beach, which was, my neck of the woods. I was actually going to try to make it down there for that one.
I was supposed to be in Detroit this weekend.
And yet here we are, trying not to have large groupings. The COVID-19 virus is real. It is spreading. Tom Hanks has the COVID-19.
International treasure Tom Hanks filming in Australia,
Oh.
filming a Elvis biopic. He and his wife have COVID-19. Just hours ago, the National Basketball Association has, from what I understand, either suspended the season entirely or won't have crowds for their games.
All the talk shows this morning didn't.
Yep.
Like Ellen, The View, Wendy Williams. They were showing pictures of these hosts, and then they were playing to audiences that weren't there, and then the cameras would pan over, and it would just be rows of empty chairs. It was really
there
creepy.
was something like that after 9/11. Where David Letterman did a show in front of an empty house.
Jeez.
And he was like playing to a non-existent audience, and it's surreal. I know that in California, public gatherings, let me get the phrasing right. I think it's public gatherings over 1,000 people, which are not travel groups. Right. So like they're not going to close the airport.
Sure. But
are discouraged at this point and not allowed probably soon.
I think at this point in Washington they banned over 250. Anything over 250.
Yeah, there are some prestigious events all over the country that have been canceled. ECCC has been postponed. The Houston Rodeo, which was a really big draw for that city, has been postponed. E3, another big gaming convention, has been canceled. Anything having to do with the Overwatch League has been canceled. And also thinking of the loss of revenue that these cities are going to be losing when you think of how much money we bring in as tourists. And then especially places like Gen Con. Like if Gen Con were to get canceled, I mean, that'd be a huge blow to Indianapolis that counts on this being there every year and this rush of people to bring in that money.
Yeah, and then go ahead.
I was just going to say the Magic the Gathering universe is highly, highly, highly dependent upon gatherings. Weird. And big gatherings at that. Things like Gen Con. We have WonderCon coming up in Anaheim in less than a month, maybe. that it can't possibly be happening. I've heard no word about it, but I can't imagine that's going to be happening. The next Players Tour, theoretically, is supposed to be in Houston in a month.
Oh, jeez.
And they just canceled the Rodeo. What chance does a Players Tour have
when they couldn't get the Rodeo in Texas?
And they can't get the Longhorns to go.
Yeah, it's very surreal because we know how much time and effort and money goes into even booking these rooms. You know, Evan, you've organized tournaments. You can certainly speak to, you know, what goes into hosting these events. And so having to cancel them on such short notice is such a hit and not a decision to be made lightly.
Yeah, tens of thousands of dollars. You're out, and you have to put those deposits in like a year in advance. So imagine spending $50,000 and you don't get to earn back 1 cent of it for a year. And then when it finally comes around and then that show doesn't happen, that's a problem.
Yeah.
So now the good news is that those judges that you were just about to allude to, I think that Channel Fireball is reimbursing their travel. That was the tweet that I'd seen.
Yeah, somebody in our Discord said that the judges were being compensated somehow. Like they were either getting, we didn't get any screenshots or anything, so somebody in the chat can feel free to expand on this, but we had heard that they were being paid for what they would have earned if they had been at Detroit this weekend.
Cool.
Right.
I don't know what's going to be done at the Open Series, but it does seem like the TOs are, you know, doing the right thing. They are taking this hit. They're going to try to reschedule it, and it sucks. Like I said, I was really looking forward to going to Detroit this weekend. You know, my boyfriend and our friend, we had booked our hotel, we had travel, you know, we work, you know, we have pretty serious careers, so we don't get to take much time off. And so this is something we were really looking forward to. And, you know, it just, you have to think beyond yourself, you know, that you might be fine and, you know, you might be wanting to have a good time, but, you know, the thing right now is the social distancing that they're talking about, where, you know, even if you feel fine, you still could be a carrier, and you have to think of other people here, which is ironic because I think Magic players are just generally I think Magic's a very selfish game, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah,
you
for
know,
sure.
You're not really, no shade.
I've seen people show up to the player meeting with a stuffy nose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, for
sure. Yeah, but look who fell into the right decision again.
Oh,
Ruben Bressler, never leaving his house. Hikigamori Ruben, once again, falling into the perfect situation.
Well, it keeps going here. Wizards of the Coast had a event guidelines and accommodations post that went up just today that noted the health and safety of our players is our utmost priority. As the world grapples with COVID-19, they are committed to doing their part, and so this is incredible. They are adjusting their policies surrounding WP and in-store play in their Ikoria layer of Behemoth's pre-release events. Now, granted, because you know the internet, I said, hey, this is an incredible step that Wizards is basically saying you can come and buy your pre-release kit and take it home, and then you can do an at-home event if you would like, and there's going to be some way to work with your store to make sure that essentially gets counted, as it were. I believe is sort of how it reads here. And somebody was like, well, you could always go to a pre-release and just drop. And I'm like, yes, you could go to a pre-release and just drop and piss off the TO and everybody else who's playing there because we're here to play Magic. But whatever. Yes, but this is the idea that, you know, basically Wizards is not only okay with it, they're doing something special to make it happen, and saying that you don't necessarily have to be in a large group, a large pre-release if you don't want to, if you don't feel comfortable, or as we just literally just continue to keep away from everyone else.
Yep.
There is
Animal Crossing's coming out soon, like hold out hope.
There you go.
You know, play Arena. Right. As they've been wanting you to do the whole time anyway.
You got Animal Crossing and Doom Eternal. Either one. This is how you spend your time. Let's make it happen. But of course, we want Ikoria to be great. And isn't MTG Arena awesome? We'll have that, you know, in the privacy of our own home. But these events are pretty big.
The other note that we touched on in the pre-show that I wanted to mention was that COVID-19, the virus, can survive so viruses typically don't do well outside of a host for very long. COVID-19 actually has a little bit of a better shelf life, which is worse for us on certain materials. For example, it can survive for up to 24 hours on cardboard, which I think Magic cards qualify long enough for. That's close enough to cardboard. So if you're getting things sent to you in the mail from coolstuffinc.com, where you can get cool stuff in stock every day, or other potential places that you order Magic cards from, you know, just be careful, be watchful, and know what you're doing.
I'm thinking of people's brains more than anything. This is just a surreal time, and it's exhausting. And you're being bombarded with this story and this information probably everywhere you go. And we're trying really hard to, we are covering this because it is the main topic, but we do want to try to make the show fun and interesting. And so I'm a big proponent of tailoring your social media experience. So, I think now more than ever is a good time to go through your feed and think about who you're following, and don't be afraid to mute people or even block people if you feel that you're just kind of overloaded right now, because it's a perfectly normal feeling to have. And you want to make sure that while you are taking care of your your body and things like that, that you don't lose your mind either. And it's very easy to do when everybody's suddenly an expert, and everyone's telling you what to do, and you're not really sure what's going on.
Right. And, we're here to try to, lighten the load a little bit. We're talking about Magic cards, not the most serious things in the world, but we're also kind of dealing with a reality that is, it went from 0 to Tom Hanks, y'all. And that's incredible.
Travel bans and,
Exactly. Let's see here. Let's move on to Gather the Townsfolk.
Speaking of bands.
Speaking of bands.
Bands make me dance, that's for sure.
Well, they said they were going to ban something last week, and they banned stuff this week.
They banned a lot of things.
They did. First up is Brawl, or Golos Tireless Pilgrim was way too good.
Yeah.
So that was nice.
I'll briefly touch on Golos, since I think I'm the brawler of the three of us.
You're more brawly.
I was playing Golos primarily ever since it was first came out as a thing you could do in Brawl.
Right.
Very stupid to be able to go through your entire deck and go get Field of the Dead, which is not banned in Brawl, or was not banned in Brawl.
Right.
And with your Golos, and pretty much immediately get your Golos engine going every game, because you always started with Golos in your opening hand.
Right.
So that was very silly. Those Golos mirrors were ridiculous. You don't have the deck building constraints that you typically do with a 5-color general like Niv Mizzet Reborn, because you can just have 5 colorless and to either fix your mana or go get Field of the Dead, either of which is good enough. Right. It was just way too good, way too ubiquitous. They said that it's something like 20%, like 10 to 20% of the field was Brawl decks. That's too many. And when you have 100 options, it's 10 times more popular than the next most popular option. That's stupid, and it needed to go.
It was kind of absurd. Moving on here to Historic, and this is the MTG Arena format where you can play with any card on Arena. The following cards were moved from Suspended, which is when they were not going to give you wild cards, to Banned entirely, which I believe now they would give you cards if they haven't given them to you already.
Yep.
Oko Thief of Crowns, get out of here. Once Upon a Time, which should not have been a Magic card, clearly.
Right.
And Veil of Summer, which was a ridiculous mistake. So those are officially banned forever and ever, unlikely to be unbanned. But the following cards were removed from Suspended to Legal in Field of the Dead, because they're bringing Goblin Ruin Blaster and they're bringing Ghost Quarter via the upcoming Historic Update, which they think is enough that they should be able to keep those in check at least a little bit, so they don't just run over the format like they used to. In Legacy, Underworld Breach was banned because that card is so stupid. I can't even explain it, how dumb turn 1 wins were with that card.
Yeah, so the legacy deck with Underworld Breach was known as Jeskai Breach, and it was this really efficient deck with Thassa's Oracle, Force Will, Brain Freeze, Orm's Chant in the main deck, Lion's Eye Diamond, Defense Grid, Grinding Station, and it was banned because even though the deck was not fully refined, it had still come a long way in such a short amount of time, and the win rate on it was only getting better, and the interaction with Lion's Eye Diamond was just very problematic, and they just didn't see it really getting any better. So this is very unusual for Legacy. Normally, things take a long time. I mean, look how long Sensei's Divining Top, went before that was dealt with. And so the fact that this was banned so quickly, 6 months? If that, I mean, that says something to
2
how
months?
Yeah, I mean, that says something when they deal with it this quickly. So, most people can agree the card was problematic, and it's still legal in Vintage, though, so you can come play in our playground for a little bit.
You can go bust that thing over there. Once Upon a Time was banned in Modern. Finally.
Yeah, so Once Upon a Time had contributed to Amulet of Vigor. Amulet had been the number one deck in Modern for a while. It was also propelling the Eldrazi Tron decks to the top. And, it's just one of those cards that, like Evan said, you wonder how it even got released, because it's just, what did you think was going to happen?
Yeah, I feel bad about Once Upon a Time. This is the only one I really have a strong opinion about, because obviously the card's too good. Obviously the card is way unreasonable. Right. But I want more cards like it. I don't want Once Upon a Time exactly.
I like free spells. Yes.
Well, I think there was a way to balance it to make it reasonable.
They went too far.
When I saw it printed, I was like, oh, that's a unique thing Green needs. Right? And I want more cards like it, but I don't want Once Upon a Time, which is 5 cards. It's like every card in your deck.
It's ridiculous.
Like if it was more narrow and fewer cards, or one or the other, it might have been reasonable. But the fact that Once Upon a Time came first signals to me that they're just not going to print any more Once Upon a Times. So that's too bad.
Which is a shame, because we would rather that they take risks rather than, play it safe.
Right. Now, if you want to get the tinfoil hat on, here's the tinfoil hat. All right. They make these cards. These cards are busted. They make these cards and they're way too good. I mean, at one point in time, you were paying $60 in Oko. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you're playing Magic Arena, and honestly, even Magic Online to an extent, you don't have $60 invested in Oko. In fact, it's basically impossible for you to invest $60 into an Oko. But if they were to ban Oko, not only would you be out absolutely nothing, because they would be giving you back all of your wild cards that you spent to craft it in the first place.
I don't know what those words mean.
So basically it incentivizes you to have a digital
buy
collection.
To
have a digital collection on Magic Arena, because they can ban all they want and they can refund you essentially your investment in those cards if they ban it.
But they still are also selling the packs.
Yep, they are.
Because people wanted those Okos. They were opening packs of Eldraine like hotcakes. I think that's a saying. And then when they ban it, they're already out the door. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. You can't put the Okos back in the pack.
Yep.
That's a bit too much of too much foil on that hat for me. But
and I'm not saying I believe that. I'm just saying that if you wanted to look at it in that weird, like why would Wizards want to push these cards so hard? Well, one tinfoil hat theory is that it pushes you towards Arena because it gives you the most security in them banning cards, essentially. I don't know. Anyway, all right. I'm just saying it's silly, but whatever. Moving on here, there was
It can't be any worse than the theory I saw where people were blaming top-down designs. They were like, was it really worth it to feel like you're opening the first chapter of a storybook? And it was just like, oh,
get out of here.
Okay, well, there was more things that Aaron doesn't care about. MTG Arena mentioned their state of the gamers to get them peach rings because this, whatever. MTG Arena.
I hope you stocked up on peach rings like everybody's stocking up on toilet paper. Perfect.
It's true. 2 months of peach rings. Good to go.
Yep.
You have to roll me out like Violet Beauregard. I'll just be a peach ring.
Nice. The Historic Anthology 2 is coming. 25 new cards to MTG Arena. Just like Historic Anthology 1, you can buy a single, I think it's like 3,400 gems to get a playset of all the cards they're adding. Or, of course, you can craft them one at a time if you would like. There's going to be new historic events if you want to play those. Secret Lair Thalia that we more or less complained a lot about last week. With the launch of Historic Anthology 2.
Do we have any staff members in the chat this week? I don't think so.
Right. Keep it awkward, y'all. Where the Guardian of Thraben herself is going to be put into the anthology. So she's coming to Magic Arena anyway. Okay. But you can get the super cool sleeves with the super cool artwork with the purchase of the Secret Lair. So you can get to use all those different artwork versions if you want by buying that. So I thought that's pretty cool. Did that thing go on sale today or something? When was that? I can't remember. Anyway, whatever. I know I didn't buy the women's one, which was on sale just a couple days ago.
Wow.
It's $50, man. I got
The
5
International
kids.
Women's Day.
I mean, you have to give them credit. At least the product featured women, not like that Overwatch video that they put out for. Did you see that video the Overwatch people put out for International Women's Day that didn't feature a single woman?
The Thalia, it was absurd. The Thalia bundle goes on sale tomorrow, in fact. So Thursday, get it while it's hot. This one, for what it's worth, I think this Thalia one is the kind of one of those weird flying under the radar ones that people don't really care much about, but could be very expensive because they don't care much about it. You know what I mean? Like, this is the last one they've done after they've pulled that money lever over and over and over and over again. They just had a secret layer literally 2 freaking days ago. So like, this one feels like, are we done here? And by that, and then being just $30, honestly, it sounds like a good thing to buy, stick in a closet, and let's talk about it in 5 years. Just saying. Anyway, they're going to have direct messaging. Can you imagine direct messaging in Magic Arena? We're getting there, guys. Slowly,
finally,
but surely.
I think it took Hearthstone like 4 months to do this. They started with friends lists, by the way, so it took 0 months. I don't know why it's not a priority in Arena. It seems like a thing you want to do as soon as you possibly can, particularly for streamers who are like just chatting kind of streamers and are like getting used to the game and they want to stream against friends, or do something like a Arena Super League, for example.
And speaking of, they're going to let you. Well, that sounds great. They're going to let you earn quest progress now by challenging your friends, which I think is really awesome. You'll be able to use it to earn your daily or weekly win rewards, which is really sweet. Aaron, there's these weekly and daily rewards. Are really cool.
The game rewards you for playing Magic as opposed to Moto.
That's pretty cool. So apparently,
it also looks pretty as opposed to.
I assure you, we'd probably be glossing over a lot of this stuff. It's a slow week.
Yeah.
They are introducing color challenges to Magic Arena. They went back to the drawing board with their new player experience, which I thought was interesting. The account mastery is going to be removed, and players now earn new player rewards by completing color challenges, of which there are 5, and each challenge contains 5 challenges. Okay.
I was on board.
And then we're like
I was defending Arena, and now I'm like, is there room on your couch?
Okay, no, let's go back to get something excited. Cube sealed.
There we go.
Cube sealed that we don't.
Now I'm back on board. See, Aaron, we can get behind this. Maybe they'll put Bazaar or Dread Return in the cube.
All right. Grizzlebrand, give us Grizzlebrand back.
Yes, Cube sealed. So they're adding, trust me, they are adding cards like crazy to MTG Arena. And they don't have 8-player, person-to-person drafting yet, but they're getting there. So we don't want a cube in which you're like drafting against bots, because then you would have like multiple copies of things. They wouldn't be able to draft the archetypes right. Like, the whole point of cube is that you are an enfranchised player that knows what these cards are doing and how cool these interactions are. The point is, though, if they have the cards in the client, let's just play with them in a sealed deck type format, which I think is brilliant. I love it.
I mean, they've already proven that they can code in random creatures for the Momir events. They've already put Moxen and Black Lotus into the back end.
That was fun.
So, how much harder is it to do sealed? Not very.
Right. And this is the first Phantom event, as far as I can tell, for Arena. I guess technically they've let you play with decks before or whatever, but like, you're going to open a pool and you're not going to keep any of those cards. You're going to get rewards for playing in the event. Cool. But just like a cube draft, you don't get to keep the cards in a cube draft. You give it back, which is fine. So I am ready. The body is ready for cube sealed on Arena. I'm really excited to see what they put in there, what cards they actually already have in there. Like, is Jace the Mind Sculptor on Arena yet? Like, that would be dope.
Aaron's not getting out of bed for anything less than Bazaar. So
maybe it's there. Maybe there's some dredges in there.
At least a Grave Troll. At least give me my Sweet Prince back.
Give us something. Boy, can you imagine Grave Troll dredge triggers on Arena? Oh, what a nightmare.
It seems
I'd even settle for just like Reanimate. Like, just give me a taste.
Reanimate is fine to program in.
Exactly.
It's fine. Well, look, a while back, Wizards talked about the Mystery Booster. The Mystery Booster is coming out very soon for stores. And in it, instead of playtest cards, will be foils. There's exactly 121 foils that were revealed.
Cool. And give me the top 5 most expensive.
Top 5 most expensive. Sin Triplets, which are currently $134.
The hell?
Minimo School at Water's Edge, currently $87.
What
Why?
Scourge of the Throne foil, currently $80.
What does that card do?
Yeah, that's
Scourge
a
of
giant
the
dragon.
Throne.
Big dragon gives you an extra attack step. Intruder Alarm is $72,
Sure.
and that's
That one
Jesus.
I'm okay with.
That's from 8th
Oh,
edition.
it's one of these stupid conspiracy cards.
Yeah, the conspiracy stuff gets ridiculous. And number 5, $63 for a foil Shadowmoor Reaper King.
Sure. Fine. Okay. I'm on board with 4 and 5. I'm on board with Intruder Alarm, and I'm on board with Reaper King. Scourge of the Throne, I've never heard of.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's a real Magic card. Send triplets. Just out of nowhere.
Can you imagine
The $145 send triplets.
Woo! It's insane.
What was number 2?
Number 2 was Minimo, School at Water's
Minimo.
Edge.
Also one I'm not on board with.
You call it Minimo?
Minamo.
Is it
I say
Minamo?
Minamo.
I think it is
moving.
Minamo. You're right.
And
I say Minimo.
Come on, y'all. We're going to Minimo.
Minimo. Hey, y'all. Going
You
Minimo.
I
have
say Minamo.
That's how Evan tells his
I
grandma's
say
apart. He
Minamo.
has his
I
Mima
say
and his
Minamo.
Mima.
I got my memo now. I gotta get your memos, y'all. What's wrong with y'all?
I'm not on board with 3 of those 5, but
It's okay. It's
4
a
and 5,
weird-
those are good. Those are good. I like
Weird
those.
conspiracy mythics are always infinite dollars. It's just how it is. But either way, that's they have a foil list now that has a bunch of expensive cards. There's a bunch of expensive cards in the set, even though it is freaking 1,694 different cards.
That's the thing is you've got 1,600 individual cards. You're not gonna see like they're putting Bloom Tender in the set,
Right.
but it's like they've shuffled 5 sets together
Yeah.
and they've only put it in one of those 5. So you're not nothing that's coming out in these Misty Boosties is going to actually impact the secondary market.
He just said
One of those
boosties.
weirdos that says boosties.
Oh, he got his boosties on. All I know
said
is
it once.
look,
Said it once.
the EV on these things is very high because the ability to open any of the cards, Bloom Tender or any of them, is all the same rarity. There's nothing that is more rare or more mythic or whatever than the rest of them. So as a result, this thing is going to be hot fire. It's awesome as a sort of chaos draft product. It's perfect as a chaos draft product.
I see Aaron reading these boosties in chat. That's what this
And we
for.
get them boosties in the chat right now. Boosties in the chat. +1 boostie. You get +2 boosties if you're a subscriber. It's great.
I don't do boosties. I don't do tendies. I have a 401k. I can't.
Chicky
I'm
tendies?
sorry.
Chicky nuggies?
No chicky tendies?
No.
For real? Oh my god. Well, speaking of the cube, let's keep
Misty Boosty Chicky Nuggies.
let's keep with these very positive announcements. The Pauper Cube, as of right now, as I understand it,
Stibs
has come to Magic Online. The Pauper Cube is here. After 10 years of maintaining this cube, Adam Stibbs Taborski, former co-worker / previous runner of Gathering Magic and Cool Stuff Inc.'s marketing, member of the Commander Advisory
and my
Group.
Slimefoot from Vegas 2 years ago?
2 years ago?
2 years ago.
my former boss at Gathering Magic.
There you go. And Magic Esports content and coverage teams. Well, he's ready to share his Pauper Cube on Magic Online. Entry options include both league and single elimination queue, and events cost 10 tickets or 100 play points. It's going to run from the 11th to the 18th. All undefeated players get their trophy and a copy of Pauper Staple Thorn of the Black Rose. And because this is a bit of a special occasion, don't forget to log on to Magic Online by March 18th to redeem the code, quote, PauperCube2020 for your copy of Standard Bearer from Apocalypse.
Hey.
Even free accounts, no matter what kind of account you got, can get in on this promotion.
I
Cool.
don't normally cube, but I did a Pauper Cube a couple of weeks ago at a friend's house, and I really enjoyed it. I went 2-1 in it, and I mean, obviously it depends what's in it, but you know, it's definitely more my speed. I would play this.
Very
Pauper
nice.
Cube is a good time.
Pauper
I
Cube is
enjoy Pauper
sweet.
Cube.
There is a heck of a Kickstarter happening, and we don't always report on these things, but let me tell you, this one has tugged at the emotional, nostalgic strings so hard. Currently at $60,000, 757 backers. For the next couple weeks, you can get on the Kickstarter for the Foglio, and the Foglios rather, both Foglios, correct?
Yes.
Kaja-
Yeah, and they made a
Kaja
video
and Phil
too,
Foglio,
didn't they? Oh,
Kaja
they did.
and
Oh
Phil
man, look
Foglio.
at them.
which is awesome. And
Aww.
yeah, so Kaysha and Filfo illustrated 117 cards. And some of their sweetest are available in this Kickstarter.
Goblin King, Mishra's Workshop, and they just have a style that you don't see anymore. You know, you look at it and you immediately know it's a folio piece, number one. And then it has this sort of cartoon, you know, all their girls have like, you know, very manga, like little waists, big boobs, big eyes, you know, it's just a style you would never see anymore. And they've done cards like Scheherazade, Daring Apprentice, Mirror Universe.
This is the part where you go, you know, use Foglio, you cowards. Like, make it happen. Make some new Magic cards with Kaysha.
And they've always been
Foglio
sort of eccentric
art.
and quirky. And if you look at this video that they did for the Kickstarter, they're in like this library. Phil has this really obnoxious vest on. Like, they're just so great. I just love everything about
I'll be honest, I've not been a huge Foglio apologist in the past.
Okay.
Their work translates really well to playmats. A lot of
Yes.
artists don't. A lot of artists have like super busy stuff, like a lot of detail. The cards get lost. You look at that Winter Mishra's Factory, or the Winter Mishra's Workshop.
Oh yeah.
Wait, hold on.
Mishra's Factory.
Either of the Mishra buildings
Mishra's
translate
Factory.
well
the
to a
millstone.
playmat. The Millstone looks really good as a playmat.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's like just enough, like it's just not detailed enough to be a good playmat.
Mhm.
Right.
I'm just glad to see old artists that still, you know, ride with Magic. You know, I'll never forget there was a coffee table book that came out many years ago where they talked to all of these artists. And I was really surprised to see how many artists were like really almost dismissive of it, where they were like, yeah, well, we've grown so much since then, or we've done other things since then. And so I always appreciate artists that, you know, might have moved on to other things, but Magic still has a place in their heart, and they don't feel like they're, you know, too good for it, or they don't look at it like, you know, I was just starting out, or it was nothing. You know, the artist.
That's like, it's the same attitude of like when Richard Garfield is like, but have you seen my other games? And it's like,
you know, the
that's
fact
Magic,
that Margaret
though.
Organ Keene comes out and, you know, all of these old school Mark Shadeen and things like that, like, yes, they still have a place in their heart for Magic.
Oh, and let me tell you, I got a place in my heart. There's, you know, when I first learned Magic, going on about, you know, Savannah lines and whatnot, but after I got my Savannah lines and stuff and I started sort of collecting more, you know, the moment they showed me the Mishra's workshops with the Mishra's factories rather, with the 4 different types of seasons, and it just, that winter, it's like, that's just gold. I don't get in on these playmat things, on these playmat Kickstarters, and I don't think I can resist the pull of this one, because that's a lot to me. It was, you know, it's a thing that I got my set of Mishra's factories back in the day, and I just love them. I got to play with them in standard. They were in 4th edition, which is the part where I essentially discovered what they were. And if you were going to play with them, you know, you wanted the cool set, right? And it was dope. And, you know, back then getting the winter one was like a big deal. So this is also the most
so
special.
Aaron, you're at a vintage tournament and somebody lays out a Mishra's Workshop playmat.
Yeah.
What archetype are they playing?
Oh my goodness.
Like, are shops players the kinds of players that are just like, yeah, beat it, workshop playmat, right? Or are you a library player who's trying to mind game, right? Like, are you the kind of player that brings fairy tokens even though you're playing mono red?
I've never seen, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I personally have not experienced that sort of bait and switching before, or that sort of mind games at a vintage tournament. So my first guess would be that it's somebody who might be new to vintage and trying to psych you out, or something like that. I don't know, but it's still a beautiful mat. So I wouldn't mind
gorgeous
seeing
mat.
it.
Yeah, whatever, you know, edge, I think you feel that you're getting there, it's not worth it.
I'm just asking.
It's just not.
Right.
It's fine, and you can do that. You
The
be
elitist
you.
in me is going, well, a vintage player would never do that. But
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Adjust your monocle. It's fine. Whatever.
It's what separates us from the apes, you know?
Hey, good, wholesome news. This is what
It's
we
different,
need here.
But it's different from a Library of Alexandria playmat where you're 100% sure they don't have a library in their deck, right? Like, that's trying to bait and switch you.
Is it?
I don't know.
I don't know. Look, our next story here, wholesome, good, wholesome content.
Yeah.
There was a shop in Tokyo where the store owner wrote this note here. And said a customer walked into the store here in Tokyo showing us what they thought was a print of Siege Game Commander. They had bought it at another store in town for about $50. Turns out a print it was not. After confirming with Chris Moeller as well, this is the artist, we were positive that it is the original painting. Wow. As I happen to know, a painting that our beloved godfather, Will Larson, Goblin Father, Will Larson has been looking for 10 plus years. So after some convincing and a serious cash offer, the customer walked away with a lot more money than they thought they would get that day. And he got to make a collector really happy.
That's amazing.
I thought that was awesome.
Yay.
So picture of Siege Gang right there. I mean, Siege Gang itself is just such a classic, awesome creature. To this day is still sweet and good and would be played in Standard if it were printed. And every time it's been in Standard, it's been played in some fashion. Like, love me some Siege Gang.
I spent much of the evening buried in Scryfall. I've been brewing a lot lately, and I decided to brew a Pashalik Mons deck. And so I just hit like Goblin, Red, Go. And so I spent much of the evening just looking through all the goblins. And it's a whole new world. I've never seen some of these creatures before. And I'm like, what does this do? And so I'm really excited to kind of play in this playground here. And CJ will definitely be in there.
Yeah, a lot of the goblins have sacrifice abilities. Yeah. So get rid of your opponent's bridges.
So excited.
Bye, bridges. Bye-bye. And because it's a slow news week, we're going to market Ultra Pro's products to you. Check out these super cool products from Ultra Pro. These products are super cool, though. I love this stark.
Isn't this a conflict of interest?
Is it? This is a very high contrast red-white motif for Chandra. I love it. It's their first, I believe, their first stitched mat.
That looks super cool.
It is beautiful.
Yeah, their first ever stitched edge play mat, which is great. The collector box is super cool. This is just a fantastic product, and I like good design, and I feel like this is really good design, and I want to laud when they do that. That's fantastic.
Now they're not paying us to say this, but if they want to, we're certainly
in like a not slow news week.
Yeah.
Right. It looks like the old Comic-Con promos. Those playmats with the stitch edges I like a lot. They keep a lot longer. They're easier to transport without fraying. That deck box looks a little cheap. Would have liked a better deck box.
Wow. I'm like, hey, Ultra Pro, you want to work together? And Ruben's like, y'all cheap.
No, the playmats are good. Well, I know that you can do better.
Wow. I'm going to pivot over here into some
They're not paying us now.
Not paying us now.
What are you trying to...
like, you need to pay me to say nice things about you.
So we don't just drop the elbow on your deck boxes.
I would have... look, if Bloomberg had paid me $500, I would do something nice.
We are go Mike, sure. Look, moving here to Desperate Ravens, there was a ebook that was written, Children of the Nameless by Brandon Sanderson. This was Davriel's debut, essentially.
Davriel Kane.
It was a really, really cool story and was super neat. And it was taken down, this free PDF that you could have gotten until just recently because Wizards is planning on printing it in real life. And Brandon actually responded to this as it was posted on Reddit here. And he says he was consulted about this. His stance had been that he preferred the story to remain free, but he deferred to Wizards on the actual decision because it's their stuff. He said it is both within their rights and within the scope of things we discussed when I agreed to write the story. I went into this with eyes open, knowing that my story, though intended to be a gift to the people who play Magic, was being written for a corporate entity. I was and am under no illusions as to who owns Davriel or the story. All of that said, the print edition they're doing will give a significant portion of its proceeds to charity. All my earnings, and I believe some of theirs, though I don't know how much. I'm hoping it is successful, and request that those who like the story support the print edition when it is released. I should probably also add that the creative team at Wizards with whom I worked with were an absolute delight. In fact, every person I've met with or interacted with has been passionate about Magic, its design, and its stories, and it all makes me very glad that in my other writing I am rarely forced to deal with or bend to high-level corporate decisions.
Yeah, this is another blow to the Vorthos community. It's been a rough, year with the reduction in Magic Story and the decline in quality in Magic Story. Another blow to the Vorthos community is Voice of All, is a series that Ruben and I think all three of us have done voice work for them, haven't we?
I think at one point or another we have. I did.
Yeah, so I think we've all done things for them. So they used to do audiobook versions of the Magic stories that you would find on the mothership. And they've told over 200 tales, 5 literal days worth of storytelling. And they just announced on their Patreon that they are going to be taking a really, really big step back because it's become a lot more difficult for them to produce this kind of content. Yeah. They've indicated that Magic is not working with them. Wizards is not working with them the way that they used to. They're not responding to their emails. They're not getting any stories to to literally narrate. And so, this is a very sad day. They were making very unique content. Nobody was really doing this. And the fact that we'd all played a part in it was very bittersweet.
Yeah, that's too bad. I didn't hear about that. Well, I guess they should become Magic content creators in the eyes of Magic the Gathering, which only means streaming.
Only streaming. Sorry.
But yeah, that's rough. And the Vorthos community's had it rough for a long time. It's just one hit after another. This particular Brandon Sanderson, Children of the Nameless, turning into a print version, I'm okay with. Like, I was a little surprised that it wasn't an ebook that you bought to begin with, because it's Brandon Sanderson. Like, you sell books.
Right.
I would like it if there were free stories to help sell your game, or at least like free comic book day kind of events where you got
Which is basically what that
something.
kind of was, right? Like, it was a free cool story that you got as a result of being a fan of whatever it was that they were writing about. And it was a really big author. So I had a tweet blow up earlier this week where, and I was highlighting a Reddit comment, who said that, the question was, does Wizards taking down the free PDF story that he wrote and they're printing it in real life impact the likelihood of Brandon writing for Wizards again if given the opportunity? And he says, yes, unfortunately it does. I'm not completely against it, though. One of my pipe dreams I'd move to Seattle for a year or so, work closely with a design team, build an entire world/lore for an MTG plane, write an epic novel, a full epic novel there. In his perfect world, the novel is done before design on cards start, and they can do an entire top-down set based on the book. Oh my God. I can't hardly...
That sounds great.
I can't hardly get through that because going, please, could you just... Yeah. My inner nerd is absolutely going nuts over here. It's ridiculous.
I mean, that seems like a slam dunk, right? Like,
oh my God, it would be insane. It would just be nuts. And I understand that, Wizards plans things very far in the future, and to be able to develop this stuff would take a lot of time and effort, and, like, the timelines would be super long. We're talking like 3 to 4 years worth of development here.
Yeah,
but man,
the dude is a best-selling author with,
for a reason.
For a reason, with multiple best-selling books. And it's books. It's not movies where it like leaves your consciousness after 10 minutes, or Netflix shows where there's always another one coming up. Books tend to be kind of indelible, even if they have a slow burn. Like they don't have a huge premiere weekend, but we're still talking about Brandon Sanderson books 10 years, 15 years after they've been written, much like other authors. And so having a 5-year gestation period on a Brandon Sanderson set doesn't sound like that long of a time, honestly.
This is one of those things that, would it take an epic amount of effort? Yes, but could be one of the best things they've ever done.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it has the potential, essentially. We could be, back to a different Dominaria perhaps one day.
He's already done a ton of work with D&D in the past, I think.
Has he? I have no idea.
I thought. Maybe I'm mistaken.
I mean, you're the D&D guy, so you tell me. Anyway. Good time to move on here to some splash damage. Andrea Mengucci announced that he is going to be part of the top 100 Italians under 30 for the Forbes magazine in 2020.
Wow.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it's been a good week for Magic celebs transcending into the mainstream. Jimmy Wong showed up at the Mulan premiere this week and made a really big splash. He had some really good camera time. They asked him about representation in film and things like that. The movie actually seems like it was really well received. Like I was seeing a lot of the initial feedback and people really liked the movie. It's a very big budget, action flick. People think that they, based on the feedback I saw, it seems like they're doing the original justice. He's obviously a very notable character in that. And so it's really cool to see people that we think of being ours in a way. We like to protect them and all of that. And to see them moving on to bigger things is really nice. And they both deserve it.
Good week for Mengucci. Also had the Mengucci tweet blow up a little bit and get a little bit of a viral.
Keep your thoughts on him too, because he's in Italy. So when we talk about Italy being locked down, like he's there and still streaming and giving you content.
Bad week for Italy. Bad week for everybody.
Not gonna lie, it's been a pretty rough week for the planet, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But either way, congrats on that. There was some interesting legislation being discussed, because here at Magic Mike's we're all about that legislation.
Yeah.
But there was there was a bill that could make e-commerce companies liable for counterfeits sold on their platforms.
This has actually been a long time coming. I secretly love Frontline. I love PBS Frontline. It's my thing. They did a 2-hour special on Amazon the other day, and one of the things they covered was the way that Amazon is able to dodge liability when it comes to the marketplace that they have. And anybody can sell there, but nobody really vets those products. And so you could be selling, counterfeit makeup, or you could be selling counterfeit toys, and those items may be dangerous. And if they hurt somebody, Amazon is removed from any sort of liability there. And they were talking about how that was structured and whether or not that needs to change, because a lot of these companies will enact these storefronts, and then when things hit the fan, they close them down and you can't find them, and no one's ever held liable. So this legislation is actually very important. It is something that I think we do need with the eBays, the Amazons, and things like that. But there was some talk about whether or not this could apply to other things where, if you bought a counterfeit card, would that store be held responsible? And so I think it does open up some doors in terms of the, hobbies that we enjoy and the products that we buy. But I do think that overall something like this is necessary, because I saw a documentary on makeup on Netflix. It was talking about how, there's this makeup boom between YouTubers where people are so desperate to look a certain way that, they'll go on Amazon, put up tubes of something, and you're putting like wallpaper paste on your face. And like, it could be a really bad scene.
Yeah. I mean, if you go on wish.com or whatever, and you see counterfeit magic cards, among other things, like you go downtown and you see people selling fake Gucci and fake, Rolex and all that kind of stuff. But it's much more of a problem in the online marketplace, obviously. And internet law is forever going to be behind the internet in terms of doing anything. Like criminals on the internet are so far ahead of the law because it's the Wild West. It's literally uncharted territory. And so the fact that they're partially catching up, it also makes me a little bit happy that it's bipartisan, not for nothing. 4 House members from across the aisle actually agreeing on something. Which is nice. Got to start somewhere. That's always nice to hear. They're going to bring in actual executives from Apple and Amazon and talk to them about this problem, which is a big problem.
Right.
I'm excited to for the future. Of legislative news on Magic Mics.
It got to the point at one point, where I had a press release essentially and a sort of a little campaign around Cool Stuff Inc. saying that, hey, all of our stuff is real. All of the stuff you find on CoolStuffInc.com is actual, factual, from the publishers, from the distributors. We don't sell you fake stuff. There's no possibility of getting fake stuff because all of our stuff is actually.
You said that board games had it way worse.
That's where I was about to pivot. Board games have had a huge, huge problem with counterfeits. And oftentimes the counterfeits, sometimes they look very close. They're very similar, and a lot of times it's just like their components are shoddy, or the paper's super thin, whereas it should be a nice thick cardboard board or something like that. And there's always somewhere they cut a corner, but sometimes people just think that that's like, well, this is a crappy made board game. I'm never going to buy from so and so publisher again, when it wasn't even theirs to start with. And Amazon will certainly hear about it. And if you notice, first of all, if you even know it's a counterfeit, but if you know it's a counterfeit and you talk to them, well, they'll drop the seller, but then the seller will just make a new username, and here we are again. So it's always going to create challenges to try to sell and sort of vet the people that you're selling through or for or whatever. But at the same time, like, it's really became a serious problem in various industries, makeup, board games, others, I'm sure, of where just these fakes are getting out of control. And these one of the examples I saw was the oven mitt. The oven mitt with like the blue lines on it. That keeps your hand safe from touching hot pans.
No, but keep talking.
But there was a fake one from China that was difficult to tell. It had a picture of the fake and the real one. It was like, which one was the real one? And it was I chose the wrong one and I didn't know.
Did it melt your hand off?
Well, no. What I'm saying is it was a picture of 2 of these things and it said, which one do you think is the real one? I was like, I think it's this one. But it was the other one. And there's no real like this is authentic stamped on there.
I don't want to get trapped into buying counterfeit oven mitts to burn my hand off.
Well, that would require you to have an oven too.
Fine. Wow. Counterfeit like brake pads, right? Like things I depend upon to not die.
Right. The real deal brake pads would be nice. That said, we have a few more minutes here that we can go infinite. A couple weeks ago, we asked if you would throw us some questions to discuss when the topics are a little light. So, Aaron, if you could work in any department at Wizards, related to Magic or not, which I think is more interesting for Ruben, which one would you choose, if any?
I would love to work in their PR department because when I was coming up, when I first started doing the deck teas, I remember back when Talina used to work there. Do y'all remember Talina?
Oh, yeah.
No.
Yeah, so Talina was the woman in charge of WotC's PR at the time, and she was like Voldemort. Like, everyone was terrified of her. No one would even say her name. And, you know, she had like a really iron grip on, like, you know, the messages that came out and the way that we interviewed people. Like, you had to submit all your questions, and she would send them back and say, do them over. And like, you know, she was really aggressive in that regard. And then they moved over to this sort of casual PR firm that they outsourced. I think they were based out of Washington, D.C. for a while. And then after that, we went a really long time without not having like a community team even, in fact. And so I would love to just be in some of these meetings where, you know, things go down with like Magic Online or, you know, the secret layer leaks and things like that. And I would just love to be on sort of that response team of like, are they even looking at this? What are their thoughts on this? You know, why are they choosing not to respond? Being there to sort of craft those responses, just seeing how they deal with all the feedback. Seeing the amount of feedback that they get, I would love to just be a fly on that wall and to see how they take things that happen to them.
Ruben?
I mean, Dungeons and Dragons is where I'd end up. I've applied for a few jobs at Wizards. Most of them were several years ago, and most of them were Magic gigs. I believe I was either second or third to get hired for an editing position, for like a product editor, where it was just, you know, making sure everything is spelled correctly and aligned correctly on the marketing products for a boxed set thing. The time in which I would apply for a Wizards of the Coast job, I think, has mostly passed me by. Or we've passed each other by, I suppose. But if an opportunity presented itself where I could go in to be an editor for a Dungeons and Dragons book, or a because I'm not sure I would want to be on the story team. That feels like a lot of pressure.
Better not screw it up. Decidedly story.
Right. If offered it, I would take it. But that's not where I would want to start. I would want to dip my toe in with, you know, something that's tangible, that I can be like, oh, this is how this word is spelled correctly. I can edit the books, or I can make sure the rules work right, or something along those lines. And then move into story, because obviously I love the storytelling elements of Dungeons and Dragons. On the flip side, working in the marketing department. I love doing marketing. I love social media. I love copy editing and making sure that the words sound right and are written well. Both of those sound like exciting opportunities. But yeah, Dungeons and Dragons is where I'm at in working with Wizards going forward.
Yeesh. Part of me says that there's probably no position that would work because of my big mouth. I have a hard time being quiet when I see something that I feel is incorrect.
You mean like your raffle?
Like the raffle, not knowing that it's not running. I'm terrible. But I think overall, a few places. I think one, I'd love to help out spoiler seasons and planning out how they reveal sets and that stuff. Or perhaps in the organized play department, because I know how to get butts in seats. I know how to get Magic players excited about events, excited about promotions. Like, you give me the keys to the kingdom, I can make any Magic card I want. I can, you know, like, the things that I feel like they're doing right now for premium stores are not enough. And I think I could bring a lot of good ideas to help stores thrive in a way that still works within their ecosystem of, you know, papers, whatever, this digital thing's great. And I'm like, okay, well, you give me just like this little slice of whatever, and I'll go over here and make the stores happy, and we'll play some cardboard, and it'll be great. So, you know, I've gotten a lot of butts and seats before, and I feel like I could do it again if they let me kind of run wild.
Now, what if you were in a department in Wizards that was, say, with Avalon Hill or the Transformers TCG? Do you think you could get butt and seats that way?
I think it would be tougher. I think there's a point where I'm incredibly empathetic. That's my superpower, is that I can feel sort of how you're feeling. And part of it is that I have that familiarity. So I have the familiarity with a Magic player that I very much know what, like when I send you a message as a Magic player, I have a good idea of how you're going to receive it. Does that make sense? How you're going to read it, how you're going to read into it, the things you're going to notice, and the things you're going to care about. And so that is, I feel, uniquely powerful, I guess, in terms of messaging versus, the Transformers, which is just kind of not, it's not really my scene. Yes, I loved them as a child. I liked the first movie until they all went to crap. And then that's not Avalon Hill, maybe, because I like board games. And I think I can speak a little bit to board gamers, having worked in the industry now for like 5 years. But at the same time, board games are not doing well when it comes to straight retail. Like they're basically Kickstarter at this point, and Kickstarter and Target and Amazon have kind of taken your markets. So it's a little rough, but overall, I think, Evan put butts in seats is a thing that I could do for the company rather.
Interesting.
Yeah. Here's a fun one. Aaron, what was your favorite television shows when you were a kid?
Oh man. So one of my favorites, and still one of my favorites to this day, was Batman the Animated Series. I used to record, I had every single episode recorded on videotape, and I would watch them over and over and over again. I had the figurines, I had the books. You can watch them on Amazon Prime now, and all the episodes are available there. I had the DVD sets, and I just loved everything about it. The voice acting was perfect. I loved all the characters. Poison Ivy is still one of my favorite characters, that specific version. And just going back in, as I got older, and I would discover all of these actors, and even though I didn't know what they looked like, I would still be able to recognize their voices and be like, oh, that was the guy that was Ra's al Ghul, or the opposite, where I go back now and I look at the credits and I'm like, oh my God, Janeway was Red Claw, like Kate Mulgrew, like what is going on here?
That's
and so
awesome.
To see where a lot of actors got their start, or to see actors that have taken off since then, and just Kevin Conway or Kevin Conroy, just the eternal Batman voice. There's no one else like him, and the show had a lot of heart, and the show had a lot of resonance, and Mark Hamill's Joker is just classic. Some people like Heath Ledger, some people love Joaquin Phoenix, but mine will always be Mark Hamill. And just some of the storylines there, it got dark sometimes. I think of the Baby Doll episode in particular, but I'm just a huge Batman the Animated Series nerd, and I still just will throw on a blanket and curl up and watch Batman, and I feel like a kid again.
That's awesome. Ruben?
You got to go back and watch old Bugs Bunny cartoons. You just got to. Like, I mean, I know that they're from a zillion years ago, sure, and that it's before my time, but I think I've seen every Hanna-Barbera, like,
you mean Warner Brothers?
Yeah. Tom and Jerry,
right,
Top Cat, Wacky Races, like all those classic old, Sylvester the Cat.
Foghorn Leghorn?
I say a Foghorn Leghorn. Yeah, and I love Bugs. I mean, Mel Blanc and those early voice actors really inspired me to want to do voice acting. I think that's really what caused me to want to do voice acting, was Bugs Bunny, was Daffy Duck, Elmer Fudd, those characters, and that will always stay with me. To be a little bit more relevant of what I watched when I was growing up, I was recently reminded that Pirates of Darkwater existed, and I kind of want to go back and watch Pirates of Darkwater. Even though it never finished. Like it's one of those shows. It's like, Firefly's never gonna end up. But Pirates is another one where it's like, ooh, there's the 12 stones of dark water. What happened? Well, I guess we'll never know. And the last one is, I might be the world's foremost expert in Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Oh boy. Oh, speaking of, Carmen Sandiego was my jam.
Yeah. Carmen Sandiego's a good one.
Here's a fun one. I just saw this today. If you didn't get to watch Bandersnatch, which was a interactive movie, essentially, you got to choose, where you wanted to go in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh no.
They just posted a new one with Carmen Sandiego.
No. I don't consider that Carmen Sandiego. So I've said before that I root for villains. And so this new Carmen is like the hero now. And like they got Ugly Betty or Jane the Virgin doing the voice now. And like, no, you can keep that. Like, I'm glad people like it, but that is not my Carmen. Like, I like my Carmen, stealing things, running vile. I like my Patty Larceny, my Eartha Brute, my Double Trouble. I don't want any of that Netflix stuff. So.
Well, if we're going to, I mean, if you go back, the favorite television shows that I enjoyed the most, probably Saved by the Bell was certainly up there.
Yes.
I loved Saved by the Bell. Would not miss an episode. Was there every Saturday morning. Was always disappointed when it was a rerun. Was in it for the Saved by the Bell all the way back to the Mrs. What was the thing? Mrs. something. Before Saved by the Bell was something else.
Miss Bliss.
Miss Bliss. Yes.
Haley Mills.
It's like Morning Miss Bliss or something is the name of the show. It was absolutely sweet. Loved that completely. That also went into, there used to be Nintendo.
The new class?
Yes. The new class was okay.
No.
And then of course they did the college years, which was, but Saved by the Bell, big thing. And sort of the animated side of it, Animaniacs was
huge.
Oh my God.
Another huge formative voice acting thing.
I had
as well.
when I was a kid, they used to make these videos called sing-along songs where like you could see the lyrics on the screen and the head would bounce. And I still remember all the words to Schnitzelbank, which was the international friendship song. Is to stick 9 piece of chalk.
I got to meet Rob Paulson and Maurice LaMarche
Nice.
at Comic-Con 2 years ago, right before I moved to LA, and I got to tell them how impactful they both were. Also because Rob Paulson was one of the original Ninja Turtles. Speaking of
Ninja Turtles was another one.
Yes.
I had all the figurines, Baxter Stockman.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, bringing them to school to show off my new, the new turtle
Turtles
I got or whatever.
Which
was great. So absolutely sweet. Fun romp down the memory lanes on that one. Thank you guys for those questions. Let's
Fraggle Rock, Muppets. All right, we'll keep moving.
Muppet Babies in done.
Yeah, Muppet Babies. Nice.
Was a thing. Let's turn the corner here to the finisher. Co-host of the Command Zone and the Broken Pact guest star Jimmy Wong hit the premiere for the upcoming release of Disney's Mulan, where he stars as Ling, one of Mulan's besties in the army. It's a long time coming from one of the hardest workers in Hollywood and a huge deal for the MTG content creator, actor, and YouTube star, and it leads me to ask the question, where will Magic podcasters walk the red carpet next, Ruben?
Megan and Maria are two of the game's most indelible talents, and it's high time that the Magic coverage hosts got their due on the A-list. So I'm excited for their upcoming hip-hop double album with Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. Good luck. Get high five.
Oh my God. They would do so well with that.
It would be pretty awesome, Aaron.
Well, Birds of Prey was a complete surprise for me, and I think Magic can take advantage with some Birds of Paradise of our own. I think with the talented women we have in Magic content production, we can get a summer blockbuster done. So I'm excited for our impending superhero team up, the Super League. Sounds like vintage fun.
Oh yeah, that sounds great. Well, look, Jerry and Brian have a hit on their hands with the Arena Decklist podcast, but we can go deeper. All of the new streaming services like Prime TV and Disney Plus are almost as hungry for content as grinders are for sideboard guides. Ooh. So bring it to the stream. It's time for Netflix and 5-Color Control presents The Licher. Toss a coin to your Licher, O Temple of Plenty. O Temple of Plenty. Very, very nice. And that
pay for your sideboard guides.
That's right. And that ends, but pay for the guides. Don't just be skimping out on that crap.
Right.
That ends another live episode of Magic Mike's. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you for having me, and wash your damn hands.
Wash the hands. Stay to yourself. Go home. Thank you, Ruben.
Legitimately, I was going to be wash your damn hands for my outro, but Aaron stole it from me.
Oh,
here we are.
I said wash your hands.
He said a washer. He said I says we want to thank our sponsor, Cool Stuff. I said coolstuffinc.com. Our co-sponsor, cardhoarder.com. My co-hosts, Aaron Camel and Ruben Bressler. You guys for watching or listening. I hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmikes. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, twitch.tv at Magic Mikes, on Twitter at Magic Mikes Cast, our Magic Mike subreddit, and like the Magic Mikes page on Facebook. Talk to us privately at magicmikespodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at magicmikespodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes, or join us here next week. Same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mikes. Good night, everybody.